Brett was just asking, you're in London, right?
Yes, I'm in London.
Okay. Now, where are you in London? Because I know it pretty well, but...
Well, we're, David lives about right near the Tower Bridge.
Right, you told me.
And he's right on the Thames. We look out on the Thames in the living room.
Oh, that's fabulous.
The beautiful beautiful bridge, and all the boats and things that go by.
So is the Tower of London to your right or to your left?
The Tower Bridge is to our right. It's up. It's more west.
Okay, so I know where you are now. I feel better.
Yes.
I had a ton of work lined up in the UK.
You had a what?
I had a ton of work lined up in the UK.
Did you?
And it was all, I had the Olivier Awards, and I had some BBC concerts.
Yes.
And the show Sleepless, which I orchestrated, is opening in Wembley.
Oh.
So it was quite a bit, but I am booked for Europe in December.
Fingers crossed.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Let's hope they let you in.
I hope so.
This thing is just horrible, isn't it?
Now, Anita, the theater is not open yet.
No, I know.
Okay.
I know, and I like the virtual stuff. I mean, I'm glad it's staying alive, but it is virtual, and you can't do a cabaret show. Well, at least mine, you can, because I tell a lot of funny stuff, and if I don't get a response, forget it. I mean.
Is none of that open?
Applause.
I mean, Zidell's is not open, and those places are not happening?
Nothing. No.
Oh. I am so glad that we get to talk like this, because I know I was telling Brett that I saw you do so many Broadway shows, and we kept on crossing paths on shows.
Yes. That's right. I was never conducted by you. Was I?
No, but we almost. But I remember, well, because of playing our song, but I remember when you were next door. Were you next door? No, you were at the Imperial before me with Chapter 2.
Oh, yeah.
I think. But you came into playing our song long after I was gone.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember when you were on the tour, and I had a dear friend, John Olson, who played the piano.
Yeah. Oh, my. Yeah.
Who loved you dearly. He's unfortunately no longer with us. But John would call me up and regale me with stories of being on the road.
With Anita Gillette. Okay.
That's right, yes.
We had a blast, though. We did. It was fun. We went. I did it with two different. I went to Toronto in the Royal Alec. We did it with Ray Bucktanika. Never heard from him.
Right, I remember him.
You know Ray?
I remember because he had a TV series, didn't he? Yeah.
I don't.
I know who he is. Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay, yeah. I haven't heard anything about him since then. I don't think so. And then I did with Dick Latessa, who's also no longer.
Of course. And now, was it Dick on Broadway with you?
No, only I don't think it was Tony.
Tony Roberts was doing it.
Yeah. No, I never did it with him and Dick until I think he was maybe he was an understudy. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Understudy.
Do you know what I think I discussed this with you in an email or a text? Of course, I saw Jimmy and some other things, but I remember very clearly seeing you do Sally Bowles. And I remember it for a purely musical reason. And it's something so silly, but there was a mistake between the stage manager and the conductor. And the conductor thought that something was wrong with the onstage band, so he played the exit music as the entr'acte at a matinee. And the stage manager was a friend of mine. Wasn't it Ed Aldridge?
Ed Aldridge, yeah.
and it was some mishap, but I remember seeing that performance. But what you did, which I loved, is you would do these, the little belt soubrette, but then you'd step in and do the soprano role, like Sarah Brown and Guys and Dolls, and
yes, that was a highlight for me. That was because Frank Lesser was in the audience, and he came backstage, and he said, "I've never seen Sarah Brown stop the show like that." I went, "That I can't tell you how meaningful that is to me." And he said, I said, "I think you mean you've never seen her played so drunk." But that, the maniacal way of that song, ask me how do I feel. That was where Jerry Orbach was wonderful to work with too. I have pictures of me grabbing him everywhere and practically throwing him on the floor. So Frank Lesser loved it, and that was enough for me. That was great.
Anita, I'd love to know how you got your start on Broadway.
How did I get my start? I got married in Baltimore. I did a season of summer stock because I had to get it out of my system because I was getting married. I was engaged when I went away to summer stock because in those days, if you got to be 21 and you didn't have a guy, you were going to be an old maid or something like that. That was so I was hired by North Shore Music Theater in Beverly, Massachusetts to be in the chorus. And of course, I only succeeded in getting it into not getting it out of my blood. It was, that's what I wanted to do more than anything. But I had been a medical secretary in the Army, working for the Army in the biophysics division. So I learned a lot about medical stenography and a lot about science. And I married a scientist named Dr. Gillette. And we were going to go, he got an accepted job in Terre Haute, Indiana. I mean, I was typing literally typing the letter of acceptance to Pfizer, and which was, the job was in Terre Haute, and that's where we were headed. And then he got a telegram, quite true. This is what, in Jimmy, that song in the Gay Life, Magic Moment, that's what was my magic moment, when the telegram arrived for Dr. Gillette, offering him a job at Cornell Medical College in New York Hospital. And that's how we ended up in New York. So then the producer of the North Shore called me and asked if I would come back again. And I went back. That was the decision. So I went back and did another season of Summer Stock. And then an agent saw me and asked me to do Paper Mill Playhouse. And then I got a little off-Broadway show that opened the then new Irving Maidman Theater called Russell Patterson's Sketchbook. And Russell Patterson, did all those girls that were half naked, the wonderful drawings that he did. And there I was. I remember getting a call about then I did the show, and then I got asked to do be in the chorus of Gypsy. I have to replace Merle. Her name was Merle Lataut, and now it's Merle Louise. She was leaving because Lane Bradbury had left, and Merle was taking over the job, and they needed somebody. I got the gig, and Julie Stein was particularly nice and said I could do either one of those roles, which was swell of him to say. And then I used to go down and watch Ethel Merman every night from the 4th floor of the Imperial, where the dressing rooms for the chorus was. And I'd watch her. I would stand in the wings. And then I got pregnant, and they thought they were going to fire me. And Ethel Merman said, "Oh, no, the kid stays in the show. So it's all right. So she doesn't do the splits. She could still do the cartwheels. You could still do the cartwheels, right? Yeah, she could still do the cartwheels. The kid stays in the show." And that's how I stayed in it till my 8th month. And Milton Rosenstock was conducting. He would be, Milton, he'd make all those sounds, all those faces, and he would stand the pit with the baton, and he'd pretend he was growing a belly, and he would go make fun of me. And I stayed there until the little holly berries on my, that we had the Christmas tree. And the Hollywood blondes would come out of the door and stand there and open their cape, and there they would be, almost naked, see-through, except for the little things covering your nipples and your G-string. And when my holly berry started moving east and west, I said, I got to get out of here.
Wow. Just to make you to feel really good, I played rehearsal piano at North Shore. Steve Slane hired me to play piano for Leonard Nimoy doing Fiddler on the Roof.
Oh my God. Wow. Oh my God. Was he okay to work with?
Oh, he was great. It was right after Star Trek, and I was, all of, 20 years old, and I was playing rehearsal piano. And I didn't know he was a nice Jewish boy from Boston. So.
Of course, yes. He was with the same business manager I had.
Oh, really? So
I knew Leonard and Sandy and their kids very well. Yeah.
It's a very small, and also, Jessie, my wife was dance captain on a show we did, and she was 7 months pregnant.
Oh my
and,
God.
It was a show called Teddy and Alice with hoop skirts. So with every month, Theone Aldrich put another hook in the hoop so that she could stay with the show, since we were a flop and we were closing anyway. So.
Well, when I went to the costumer, Gypsy, I can't remember her name, but I said, this isn't fitting. She says, not my fault you got knocked up.
That's great.
And anyway, and then I got into Carnival, after the baby.
I remember you were all over the papers because of going on for...
I
remember that.
Yeah. And that was some big deal. That was my entrance. It was like, Ruby Keeler, understudy goes on. But Julie, when I took over for Anna Maria Alberghetti, I got a telegram from Julie Stein that said, don't get knocked up again. And I got one from David Merrick that said, don't you dare make a fool out of me tonight.
Nice.
All over the papers. And it was announced, big headline, tonight a star may be born. Woo! What pressure. Yeah. That was real pressure. And when they put my name over the title, it was a really wonderful, standing on a ladder pointing to a sign, Anita Gillette in Carnival. And then I got a bill from a Stein Company in Paramus, New Jersey for $90. I had to pay for my own. I didn't know that.
You had to pay for your own marquee?
Huh?
You had to pay for your own marquee?
Oh, yeah. Because it wasn't in my contract. It was something nice that David Merrick had done, I thought. But he charged me for it.
Wow.
That's
show business.
David Merrick's nickname was the Abominable Showman. So
apparently well earned.
True.
The other show that always amused me that you did, which I didn't see you do it, but I wish I had, was The Great Waltz.
So proud of that work. That was. Singing with Jean Fenn of the Met and Giorgio Tozzi. That was really the voce.
I'm going to tell you a little story just on this slide, because I know Wright and Forrest were involved with the lyrics on that. Am I right?
Yeah.
I was supposed to do a project with them about 1980.
Yeah.
And they came over to my apartment, which was at 200 West 86th Street, across from the Belle Nord.
Yeah.
It was big high rise, and these were two old world gentlemen, and they came over, and they were dressed to the nines because they were going to go to dinner at the Oak Room after they left my apartment.
Uh-huh.
So they come up to my apartment, West 86th Street, and I had a dog named Schroeder. And my dog named Schroeder, who was a boxer shepherd, walks up to Bob Wright, these two gentlemen, sniffs his shoes and lifts his leg.
No.
Oh, come on, Larry.
And
really?
pees all over his shoes. In my apartment.
Oh my God.
And this was a dog that was perfectly trained, and I'm, of course, terribly embarrassed. They were laughing their brains out. So I'm on my knees cleaning the shoes off. But anyway, the punchline to the story is they stayed for a couple of cocktails.
Yeah.
And then they said, let's go get a taxi. We want to go to the Oak Room. Please take your dog with us.
Oh,
so we go downstairs. They're getting into the taxi, and Schroeder does it again.
Oh, my God. What?
Now, there's another bit of the punchline. 3 years later, I'm conducting Sugar Babies in Miami, and I get a note that Bob Wright is coming to see the show. So he comes backstage to see me. And he's walking backstage, and he looks around, he says, "Where's your dog?" But I'm only telling because you knew them. So they were...
I did. Oh, my God. Oh.
Now, Anita, you have your own show that you do?
I have, yes. I've done a couple of them.
Okay.
I started doing cabaret like in 2012, very late, but at least I had some things I wanted to say, like stories like I've just told and stuff like that. And I put together a show. I named it After All, and I told a lot of stories, and Barry Kleinbort directed it and helped me put it together. And Paul Greenwood is my musical director, and he's wonderful. He's got such a great touch, and he follows me like a shirt on the body. He just knows when I need things and when I don't. And that was I really was encouraged, and I did 3 different versions of After All, telling different stories. And then I did a show about Irving Berlin, and I call it Me and Mr. B, because when I did Mr. President, we became friends. And we just hit it off, we love to tell each other's jokes and stories and stuff. We discovered we both love to fish. I always went fishing with my boys. I have 2 sons, and I would always go. I loved fishing, and he loved fishing. And he had this wonderful picture in his office of him. He was not a tall guy. He was just taller. Anybody's taller than me, but I mean, this picture of him standing there with his rod and reel and this big swordfish standing, like double his size there. And he signed a picture to his daughter, to Mary Ellen, with love, Daddy. P.S. Daddy is the one on the right. That's wonderful.
That's great.
It was a wonderful sense of humor, self-deprecating and human. He was just such a wonderful human being. And he treated me like one of his daughters. And I just was very glad to be in his life, And even after the visits, and I would talk to him. He would take my calls when he, on his birthday, on May 11th. We would talk until it got to the point where, it just wasn't. Well, he lived to almost 103 too, I
was fortunate to meet all the daughters because I orchestrated White Christmas.
Oh.
So I had the approval.
Of course. That's great.
But the other thing that you and I talked about briefly in an email is I saw you do Jimmy, the musical, which was about Jimmy Walker.
Yes.
And what I remember so strongly is both you and Julie Wilson having 2 killer songs, and pulling this show out of the bin because of the problems it was having.
Oh, it was really difficult. I mean, Frank was he was this odd person, and
Frank Gorshin.
He was. he would really be much more like Jimmy Cagney than the mayor, the bon vivant, wonderful, man about town that he was supposed to be. But Jack Warner was one of the producers, you see. And when Frank did his audition, Jack said, "Do Cagney for me." And he did Cagney, and he turned to Leland Hayward. He said, "That's going to be the guy. I want him." And everybody was like, Joe Anthony, the director, said, but nobody had any say. That was it. Jack Warner said, or you hire him or I'm pulling out. And that was it. That was it. And half the time when Frank didn't feel the audience appreciated him, at the end of the show, Julie would come out, I would come out, we'd take our bows, and we'd point upstage like that. And he was supposed to come running down, down this gangplank of the ship that we were supposedly sailing on to Europe. And we would point and there would be nobody would show up. And this happened so many times. So Julie said, she was wonderful. She was so strong. She said, "We're going to his room tonight. We're going to go up there and we're going to tell him." And she did. I didn't have the guts to do it, but she did. Wow. We're not gonna give you an entrance. We're just not gonna do it. That's it. You stood us up too many times, Frank. That's all we're gonna take. So.
Anita, before you go, I want to ask you about this amazing award you got, the honorary member of the Lambs in February. What was that?
That was so nice.
It seems
that was so nice to do that. Foster Hirsch interviewed me, and I sang for them, and they did a video of me, Magda Katz. That was really nice, and they gave me an honorary lamb. I'm an honorary lamb person, but it happened so soon to the epidemic the year that I haven't been even at the place. But now I hear it's going to open soon too. So I'll try.
That's great.
If I get back, okay.
Well, we should let you go, but thank you so much for this.
It's dinner time for you, so.
Thank you, Anita. Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Bye.